Climate change drastically affects the water cycle, influencing when, where, and how much precipitation occurs. As rising global temperatures increase the rate of water evaporation in the atmosphere, we begin to see more frequent extreme weather patterns such as floods, intense rainfall, and droughts. Droughts caused by the quick evaporation of water at high temperatures leads to an absence of water supply for many communities. Floods also create many problems such as carrying chemicals like fertilizers into larger bodies of water through runoff water. This causes a pollution of ecosystems and also limits the amount of clean water sources. Also, with rising global temperatures, we see a decrease in snow accumulation, additionally limiting the amount of clean water sources in agriculture. Furthermore, the rise in sea levels due to the melting of freshwater glaciers causes contamination by pushing salty seawater into coastal freshwater aquifers.
Gender-specific food-related tasks can vary, but global trends suggest that women often bear the task of collecting water and practicing subsistence farming in areas of limited food and water supply. This causes women and girls to have to give up leadership roles and formal education in order to provide for their families. Unfortunately, while women make up 40% of the global farm worker market, they are also greatly underrepresented in agricultural data, especially when it comes to subsistence farming. Additionally, while women often collect water for their families and their crops, they also only make up 10% of professional and managerial positions in the sectors of water drinking and sanitization. These real-life gender gaps and data gaps prevent women from taking on leadership roles and initiatives.
It's been found that gender and climate are undeniably interrelated. Marginalized groups, and particularly gender minorities, face greater effects from climate change, which creates a compounded crisis situation. Although these marginalized groups have little to no impact on what has led to the occurrences of these extreme weather conditions, these natural disasters are constantly having huge impacts in women's growing crops and harvest and making them seem unreliable in their household responsibilities. In simpler terms, the consequences of the climate burden don't fall proportionally on the actors directly responsible. Climate catastrophes like droughts and floods can cause a huge lack of clean water accessibility, and for women working in agricultural fields, this can be a huge problem. For one, floods often lead to water contamination. Because these women have little to no education on how to deal with such situations, they have no way to protect themselves from possible disease. The UN states that in a 2004 study, they found that 48% of deaths related to unsanitary water conditions were female, which is a significantly larger number than the percentage of female farmers when considering it at a global scale. Droughts, on the other hand, create huge time burdens for women because they have to walk long distances to find clean water, often with their children, which pulls them out of school and creates an ever-growing and never-ending snowball effect of undereducated and unemployed women.
Herland is an international radio station that provides daily weather reports and emergency reports for areas with high concentrations of women subsistence farmers facing natural disasters and gender inequality. The daily weather reports will include variables such as temperature, precipitation, humidity, and UV index to inform people on what actions they should take to stay safe. Then it will give suggestions based on factors affecting women such as age, pregnancy, kids, and hours spent outdoors during the day. Herland will also have emergency reports to focus more on regions where floods or droughts may affect them in the near future. It will give different solutions based on the crops of the region, the harvest season of the crops, the time of the incoming disaster, and more. Our early warning system will also help find the nearest water sources and allow people to educate themselves on the potential contamination of the water near them. Herland will be a way to help people, especially women, before, during, and after water-related climate disasters. It will also act as a means of education to teach women how to use their land more efficiently, depending on the fertility of the soil and the temperature of the land found through our satellite sensor data. The goal of Herland is to provide support and empower these women and the communities who previously didn't have access to this sort of information and ultimately improve their lives.
Herland uses real-time NASA satellite images to accurately predict upcoming droughts and floods. It uses satellites such as MAP, which measure microwave emissions on Earth's surface to determine soil moisture. OCO2, which measure infrared frequencies to determine fluorescence in plants through photosynthesis. GRACE, which are twin satellites that measure gravitational changes on river basins due to changes in the climate. SWOT, a satellite that provides data from lakes all over the world and analyzes the transition of water from lakes to rivers to oceans. And finally, SAR-RCM, which monitors the slow transformation of glaciers and ice sheets into excess liquid water. After receiving the data, Herland will compare results from SMAP with those from OCO2, as a high peak in photosynthesis is often followed by extreme weather conditions, such as dry seasons and even droughts. At the same time, results from GRACE will be compared to those with SWOT and SAR-RCM, as all three satellites monitor the weather cycle to predict upcoming floods. This collective data is an input into a basic algorithm, which, with the help of AI, is able to provide scenarios that accurately describe forthcoming weeks. It also provides a set of instructions regarding health and daily agricultural activities. These instructions are designed to target all women, conditioned so that each woman can have a set of instructions that is pertinent to her, based on age, hours expected to work outside, whether she is pregnant or not, or has kids or not, and whether or not she has any health conditions that cause her to be among the first to be negatively impacted by floods and droughts.
Although it may seem like a lot, technology like this already exists and initiatives like Herland have already started. So why are we still trying to find solutions for this issue? A lot of the solutions we already have aren't actually addressing all the spheres of the problem. So the challenge isn't to find a new idea, but to take what we already have, put it together to finally tackle all sides of the issue. For example, the NOAA-18 is a weather satellite whose mission is operational meteorology, and it provides free, accessible data through automatic picture transmissions. The problem? Not everyone knows how to interpret this data, so a huge part of our algorithm is to take this data in, analyze it, and then rephrase it in a comprehensive manner for all audiences to understand. Other initiatives have also included other radio outreach programs by farmers for farmers like Farm Radio International. The problem is that they aren't taking remote sensing satellite image data like Herland to provide daily weather conditions and predict emergency reports to help keep these women and their families safe from disasters. And most importantly, you might be thinking, why the radio? Gender inequality leads to the digital gender divide, which is basically the difference between the amount of men and the amount of women that have access to digital technology and the internet. Radios, on the other hand, are much more accessible and cheap for these women in these rural areas that sometimes don't even have service to get this vital information every day. Good morning to all our listeners. This is your daily weather report. For everyone in the Amora districts in Uttarakhand, temperatures today will go to a high of 42 degrees. For women over the age of 65, it is highly recommended for you to stay indoors from around 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and keep drinking water all day. For those from 40 to 65, it's recommended to not go outdoors from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. as a UV index will be at a high of 8 during those hours of the day. If you do go outside, make sure to apply sunscreen, wear a hat, and bring water with you. Ages from 20 to 40 should also refrain from going outdoors at these times. Instead, try going earlier or later in the day to collect your water for your crops and your home, since forecasts are predicting no rain all week. It's vital to rationalize which crops to water. Keep in mind that the maximum temperature for onion crops is 40 degrees Celsius, so don't expect all the harvest to survive this heat wave. The same will go for your potato crops, but don't be discouraged. Lima beans, pole beans, quinoa, and okra are resistant against high temperatures and don't require much water. So don't worry, these crops will be fine throughout this week. Remember, if you need anything, reach out to your community. If you aren't feeling well due to the heat, seek your nearest clinic or hospital and don't overexert yourself, especially if you're pregnant. Take note that if you're feeling dizzy, sick, with no appetite, and are looking more pale and sweating more than usual, these are all signs of heat exhaustion or heat stroke. If that's the case, lie down, put your feet up, and stay hydrated. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back in 3 hours with an updated daily report. And please, stay safe.
Attention, this radio announcement is an emergency report for those living in Gwalior, Shivpuri, Jhansi, and nearby cities. Thanks to our satellite data, in around 6 weeks, there is a possibility of an incoming drought. Prepare yourself by harvesting your crops as soon as possible, begin conserving water, and reach out to your community to let them know. We will keep you updated as the situation evolves, and please, stay safe.
Looking into the future, it is vital to consider the long-term consequences of having an informative and educational radio system. As women become increasingly more educated on how to deal with extreme weather and natural disasters, they can improve their lifestyle and work on the field. Not only will these women be more informed about what is happening in the world around them, they'll also be more educated on what to do with that information and what it means. With this empowerment, their children, especially their daughters, can hopefully stay in school for longer. As women begin to have the education they need and deserve, hopefully this cycle of inequality and poverty will start to break down. We also aspire to inspire women to take larger leadership roles and have a bigger part in decision making regarding climate disasters in agricultural areas they are a part of. To sum it all up, we hope that our small step in creating this radio station will help women in these agricultural areas to be accounted for. We want women to take on more social responsibilities so that they can help others and help themselves, and most importantly, so that they can let their voices be heard.